Good morning. Good morning. My name is Don Daniel, founder of P.I.L.L Method International, a better way to eliminate debt. P.I.L.L stands for prepayment of principal, isolating the principal amount, leverage, and liquidity. Ladies and gentlemen, today, I need your help to get this message out. There are just too many people who do not have the information they need to make good decisions financially. It's just not happening. It's not being taught in our schools. And the very subject that we have today, wait a second, for some reason, my computer is not charging. And if it's not charging, we'll soon be off the air. Hold on for just a second. There we go. Now it's charging. All right. So here's what I need your help with. I need this episode to be one of the most watched episodes, even though we're talking about 15-year mortgages. All right. It needs to be one of the most watched episodes ever. Because when we don't have good financial literacy, then anybody who claims to be an expert can say something and we don't have anything to challenge it with. Let me see if I can find an example of what I'm talking about, because right now, today, we're going to be talking about that. We're not going to put that up yet. We're going to be, let me see. So we got Mr. Ramsey, Dave Ramsey says, if you can't afford a 15-year mortgage, if you can't afford a 15-year mortgage, then you can't afford the house. If you can't afford a 15-year mortgage, you can't afford the house. So, all right, here's an example of what I'm talking about. Okay, let me get rid of this. All right, there we go. We can put it on the screen now. Dave Ramsey says, if you can't afford a 15-year mortgage, you can't afford the house. Okay, a real estate expert disagrees. So, my goodness, he says he's using math. And when you say you're using math, this is the math is clear. The math is clear that a 15-year mortgage is way better than a 30-year mortgage. Let me say this right off the bat, and I'm using this as an example. Never, ever, 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 never, ever, 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 never, ever, 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 never, ever, ever get a 15-year mortgage, period. There is no benefit to you as a consumer, as a home buyer. If you're paying for your church, if you're paying for your home, if you're paying for a business building, there is no benefit to getting a 15-year mortgage. Besides, you don't need permission to have a 15-year mortgage. And more important than 15 versus 30. That's easy. That's easy for me to talk about the 15-year mortgage versus the 30-year mortgage. But that's not the main thing here. The main thing today and all other days for the P.I.L.L method is to make sure that you get good financial information. Have you ever heard the term, the one-eyed man is king? In the land of the blind, the one-eyed man is king. You see, financial literacy, true financial literacy, and teaching how mortgages and other loans actually work, not taught. It is not taught in our schools, in our universities, in our colleges, in our grad schools. if you're getting a terminal degree in anything that has to do with finance, how a loan actually works, how to read an amortization schedule is not taught in our schools. So when a so-called expert who's been on the air for years says, I've done the math, and a 15-year mortgage is the way to go. In fact, if you can't afford a 15-year mortgage, you can't afford the house. I'm going to show you today how ridiculous that is. That's number one. But again, folks, more importantly, please spread this around. Please share this with individuals right now, with everybody who's on with us right now. Go ahead and start sharing this. Share it out on YouTube, on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, or X. I mean, all right, let's get it. Let's get this information out here right now today. Share this live and share the replay. Because more importantly, the amount of misinformation is horrendous. We are in financial difficulties and financial stress because of bad financial advice. And Mr. Dave Ramsey, you're part of the problem. All right, so let me give you an example of what I'm talking about, and then we'll talk about more about this. So when you're talking about a 15-year mortgage versus a 30-year mortgage, let me show you some of the things that you need to see, and then I will go back to the point that it's bad financial advice, bad education, and the lack of education on the subject. So here, goodness, I don't even have the right words all the time. I mean, my words escape me sometimes because, you know, having ADD and being ASD, autism spectrum disorder, you know, being on the spectrum, sometimes my words escape me, especially when things get intense. And ladies and gentlemen, this thing is intense today because we're not getting the right information. I mean, everything that you've learned over your lifetime about how loans actually works, all of it is wrong. It is wrong. And today we're just going to talk about one, maybe two things, but specifically one example of how a piece of financial information, okay, can seem logical, but at the same time, it's irrational because saying that you did the math doesn't mean that you actually have done the math. And when we don't know how a loan actually works, and somebody says who has been on the air for a number of years, and it's not just Dave. A lot of people say it. Because this information has been floating around forever, but no one has the financial education to challenge it because it's not taught to us. And this is the reason why the P.I.L.L method is here. Prepayment of principal, isolating the principal amount, leverage, and liquidity. When you see something here, when it sounds like it's logical, I'm going to show you how irrational it is. So start sharing this room right now. This show right now. Get it out there so people can see what I'm talking about. So right now, I'm going to put a $420,000 mortgage on the screen. Okay, right. Interest rates have gone over 7%. The reason why I'm using 420,000 is because that's the median home price right now. Okay, and so we have it at 7% for 360 months. I'm going to put side by side here the same mortgage, but for Uh-oh. Sorry. Go back. Let's get rid of that. I have one too many zeros here. I just get so excited. Doggone it. And I put too many zeros in there. All right. So that is a $420,000 mortgage. We're going to duplicate that and put in one for 180 months. That is for 15 years. This is what Mr. Ramsey is talking about. Okay. Let me get rid of this stuff here. All right. Let me do this again. Resend this. All right. There we go. All right. So this is for, I need 180 months. That's 15 years. All right. And we have our 30-year mortgage. Now, when you're comparing the 30-year, I got to get rid of, hold on for a second. I got to get rid of this. Every time I calculate, it wants to give me new advertising. This is the best, as far as I'm concerned. Brett Whistle is the best calculator of loans on the internet right now, because it gives you a lot of good information. So we got 360 payments. The payment is $2,794.27. And when you're comparing the two mortgages, here's the math that Dave Ramsey says he's doing. Okay, here's the math. He says that if you get the 30-year mortgage, you're going to pay back $585,937.20 in interest, okay, for 30 years. If you get the 15-year mortgage, okay, you're going to pay $259,000 in interest. $259,000, and you're going to be done in 15 years, okay? As opposed to $585,000. This is not doing the math, ladies and gentlemen, because it doesn't, when you have a 30-year mortgage, it doesn't mean you have to keep it for 30 years. If you're working with the P.I.L. method, we will show you how you can pay off this mortgage with your current budget in about 7 to 9 years on average. So if you could pay off the mortgage in 7 to 9 years with your current budget and not have to refinance, and you can you don't have to sacrifice lifestyle, you can live well while you're doing it and save money, put money away for retirement and long-term savings. If you can do all of that and pay off your loan in 7 years, why do you need a 15-year mortgage? That's number one. Okay. Number two, you don't need permission to have a 15-year mortgage if that's all you know. If this is, let's say you don't know anything about the P.I.L. method, never heard of it, then all you need to know is this, all right? This is the payment for a 15-year mortgage right here. $3,775.08. This is the payment. Okay? This is the payment for a 30-year mortgage. $2,794.27. Who's to say if I get the 30-year mortgage, and I can do this, I can pay the $3,775.08. There's nothing that says I can't do that. I can find out what the 15-year mortgage is, and then what the payment would be, and start making it on my 30-year mortgage. There's nothing that says I can't do that. Every single month, I'm going to pay. So that would actually mean this, ladies and gentlemen. This is what it would mean. I'm going to put the calculator on the screen. This is what it would mean. Come on, calculator. There it is. Let's slide it over. So here is Here's the payment amount, $3,775.08. And we're going to subtract from that the 30-year payment. The 30-year payment. Dave Ramsey says he's done the math. This is the math, ladies and gentlemen. This is the math. I'm showing you what the math is. Dave Ramsey says he's done the math, but he doesn't show you the math. I'm showing you the math. So we're going to take this $2,794.27 and we're going to subtract it. $2,794.27 equals $980.81. So if you have this mortgage and you paid the 15-year mortgage payment, that means $980.81 would go straight to principal every single month if you have the 30-year. Now, because of how I don't have time to go into today. One day, maybe we'll do a whole show, because it's quite intense to show you that if you have a 30-year mortgage, because of how the numbers after the decimal work out. Okay, because of how the numbers after the decimal, when you're figuring out how much interest you pay every single month, okay, what the banks do is they take your interest rate and divide it by 12, and then they multiply that number by your unpaid balance. Because of how the numbers work out after the decimal, you are actually, if you have the 30-year mortgage and make the 15-year payment, it actually works better than the 15-year mortgage in saving time and interest. It takes several examples to show you that, and we don't have time for it today. But if you have this and start working it out yourself, you can actually go to Brett Whistle, work this out for yourself, and after you learn how to apply the principal payment and then do a new amortization schedule, you'll get a little bit farther, just a little bit faster in your mortgage payoff if you have the 30-year mortgage and make the 15-year payment. You'll see the math for yourself. Okay? But $980.81 going to principal is fantastic. What does that mean? Let me give you just an example here. I've got a principal payment of $344.27. The idea, ladies and gentlemen, is if all you know is 30 versus 15, you don't know anything about the P.I.L.L method, you attack the loan with the principal payment. But the first thing is first. First things are first. You have to make an entire mortgage payment first before you can put an extra dime on principal. Okay? If I have a mortgage payment of $2,794.27, the threshold I have to achieve is a lot lower before I can put extra money on principal, even an extra dime on principal. I have to come up with $2,794.27 to put money on principal. Okay? If I have a $3,775 mortgage, then I have to make this payment first before I can put an extra dollar or a dime on principal. Now, which one is easier? This mortgage or this mortgage? So let me show you something else when it comes to the math. If I can pay this loan off and get rid of lines on my amortization schedule, if I can compress the amortization schedule, I want to do it the easiest way possible. All right. If you're watching this and if it makes sense to you, put something in the chat. All right. Because I want to hear from you. If you listen, if you want to come in the studio and talk to me about this, maybe you're trying to make a decision on 15 versus 30. Maybe you have a question about it. Put it in the comment section. We'll handle it. Okay. Or just you want to come into the studio, we'll put the link. We're putting the link right there so that you can come into the studio. It's in the chat. Just copy and paste it in your browser and then come into the studio. You're going to leave wherever you are and come into the studio in StreamYard so that you can be in our studio and we can talk and converse, all right, about this subject. But here's what you need to know. If I make this mortgage payment, it only takes an extra $346.28 to get rid of one line of my amortization schedule. Only $346.28. If I make my mortgage payment here and I prepay the $346.28, I can prepay the $348.30 and the $350.33. That gets rid of these three interest payments. So control the principal payment and you control the loan. Dave Ramsey, Mr. Ramsey, this is the math that you should be teaching. This is the math. Okay? How we can take that money. So remember, there's a difference between of $980. Okay? So this is just a little over $1,000 right here, a little over $1,000. So every single month, by putting $980 on principal, I can knock off almost 3 payments and save $2,447 in interest. Okay. So if I keep this up, the amount of interest that the bank wants us to pay total is $585,000. $585,937. Okay, 937. We're going to do a little math here. There we go. All right. Okay. Now, people who work with the P.I.L.L method will not pay $585,000. They're going to pay right around $190,000 in interest instead. Around $190,000 in interest instead. All right. So if we have this mortgage, the 15-year mortgage, we're going to pay $259,000. This is the math that Mr. Ramsey is doing. $259,000 versus $585,000. I can take this loan and help our clients pay only $190,000 to $195,000 in interest using this loan. Why do I need this loan? Now let's compare the two. And we'll see where the math is. If I have this loan, before I can put money on principal, I must first pay $3,775.08. I must first pay that. There you go. And then if I want to get rid of one line of my amortization schedule, I have to come up with an additional $1,332.81 just to remove one line from my amortization schedule and save this interest. Folks, that is the math. If you know how to read an amortization schedule, you would never tell people to get a 15-year mortgage. Number one, the threshold is way too high before you can put an extra dime on principal. And again, to remove one line from your amortization schedule, it takes $1,300. So if we were to want to remove 3 lines from our amortization schedule, that's 1, 2, 3, that's about $4,000 to remove, if I wanted to prepay some money, I would have to come up with $4,000 to remove 3 lines from my amortization schedule if I wanted to prepay that money and to save these interest payments. Okay? So let's go back. I think it's a lot better if I make this payment and I make these 3 payments here. I think it would be better, don't you, to come up with like $1,000 instead of $4,000 to knock off 4 payments and save this interest? So you control the principal payment, you control the loan. And interest payments you skip don't matter, because now we're going to answer the question about the higher interest payments versus the lower interest payments. Yeah, 224.50. Yeah, you see here. What? Look at the interest payments. Let me tell you something, ladies and gentlemen. And here's something that Dave Ramsey won't tell you. And this is crucial. I need you to see something that most people will never show you or teach you because they haven't really done the math. On these 2 mortgages, the first interest payment is exactly the same. Exactly the same. Exactly the same. I need you to see the interest cost on both loans in the first year. All right. In the first year, the interest payment on this loan. Okay. And listen, look at the principal payments here. But the interest payments total $29,264.83. That is the interest on the first year of the 30-year mortgage. Can I show you would you like to see the interest payments for the first year on the 15-year mortgage that no one else is talking about? You can do this on your own. You can see it for yourself. Here's the interest payments on the first year, $28,879.81. And listen, my mortgage payment is $980 more each and every month. But the difference in the interest for the first year is only, Lord have mercy. Dave Ramsey, are you really doing the math for the people? Are you really doing the math? So the total interest amount, if I make every single payment here, is $29,000. Okay, $264.83. That is the interest for the first year on the 30-year loan. Dave Ramsey says that the 15-year mortgage is better. So the interest cost, all right, the interest cost on the 15-year mortgage is $28,000. So we're going to subtract $28,879.81. $385.02. Why put yourself through the extra pain in the first year when the interest savings is only $385.02? Does that make sense to you? Besides that, listen, here's how much principal I would pay down in the first year on the 30-year mortgage. So why don't I do this? Why don't I get the smaller payment? And if I wanted to, I could prepay $4,000. I could prepay $4,000 here and knock off this amount of interest. I don't have to pay it at all. I can save a whole year's worth of interest by prepaying $4,266, knock off a year of payments with this amount of money. Do you know how much I'd have to prepay to knock off a year off the other loan, $16,000. $16,000 to knock off 1 year and to save almost as much interest. Dave Ramsey, have you really done the math here? Listen, I need everybody to see this. I need you to share this with everybody, because we're not just talking about 15 years versus 30 years. We're talking about the miseducation of America on how loans actually work. That's what we're really talking about here. We're talking about something that sounds logical, but it is totally irrational. $4,000 prepaid on this loan, $4,000 prepaid on this loan only gets rid of about three and a half payments. $4,000 prepaid on this loan gets rid of 12. Okay, let me show you the first 5 years, on each loan. Now, listen, if you're liking this math, if you like this, listen, click on the thumbs up button and put in the chat, I like it. So I'll know that you're with me. All right. If you don't understand it, put in, I don't understand it, but put it in the comment section. I like it. I like it. Put it in the comment section if you are liking what you're hearing today. All right. So let's take a look at the first 5 years on the 30-year mortgage, the first 5 years on the 30-year mortgage. That's 60 payments. If all I know is to make every single payment on the 30-year mortgage, okay, for 5 years, I'm going to pay $143,000 in interest. Well, Dave Ramsey says that if you can't afford the 15-year mortgage, you can't afford this house. Okay. But let me tell you, how much interest are you actually saving in the first 5 years with the 15-year mortgage? This is how much interest you would pay if you had the 30-year mortgage without the P.I.L.L method. In the first 5 years on the 15-year mortgage, first 5 years, look at this, $131,000 versus $143,000. I'm doing a lot of extra work. All right. I'm doing a lot of extra work. I have to come up with a larger payment every single month to pay $131,000 in interest versus $143,000. Now, if I have the 30-year mortgage, and if I can prepay that $900 on my own, do you see how it works for you to have a smaller principal payment? Listen, even an extra $20,000 knocks off 4 years. Okay, let's just say you're fortunate enough to have some money set aside. I see people all the time that have this kind of money in their savings account. I see people who have a lot less. But I need you to see what happens when you have a small amount of money or a large amount of money. If I prepay this, I knock off 4 years off this mortgage and save $115,000. Okay. 4 years on the other mortgage. Okay. 4 years on the other mortgage, that's $108,000, but I have to come up with 73 grand to save this. I have to come up with 73 grand to save this, whereas that's 108,000, whereas I only have to come up with 19 grand to save 115,000. Ladies and gentlemen, where is the math in what Mr. Ramsey is talking about? Why don't you see what we're talking about is that the 15-year mortgage is actually harder to pay off the loan in 7 years than it is to have the 30-year mortgage to learn how to pay it off in 7 years? When you have a 15-year mortgage, you actually make it harder. In fact, most people, if they have a 15-year mortgage, most people that I've run into over the last 18 years being with the P.I.L.L, after starting the P.I.L.L method, been in this business for 18 years, most people with a 15-year mortgage, oh man, something happened to my studio lights. Okay. All right. Most people that have that, have the 15-year mortgage, don't put anything extra on their loans. They're saving. They think because they've done the math between the 30-year and the 15-year that this is the thing to do. And they don't even put an extra dollar on principal because the threshold is so doggone high, coming up with a payment of $37.75. You know, some of the experts are saying your mortgage payment, your housing percent, the percentage of your income that pays for housing should be right around 25 to 30%. 25 to 30%. If you have a $3,700 mortgage, that means that's a larger percentage of your take-home pay. Okay? That's a larger percentage of your take-home pay. I could have the same size house with a much smaller percentage of my take-home pay of $27.94. And if I want to put extra on my principal, it's a lot easier and it does a lot more work for me when I do the math. We need better financial literacy, wouldn't you say? Wouldn't you say we need better financial literacy than what we have now? Do you think, if you have small children, do you think your 8th grader or your 7th grader can understand what we're talking about here? Can I show you another thing here? Because cash is not king. Dave Ramsey and people like him are saying avoid debt at all costs. Avoid debt at all costs. It's ruining America. Avoid debt at all costs. Can I point something out here? If we're supposed to avoid debt at all costs, who's the biggest borrower in your town? In your town, who is the biggest borrower in your town? Who borrows more money than anybody in your town? The banks. The banks borrow. When you're putting your deposits in your bank, literally, they're borrowing money from you. And what are they doing with that money? All right. Kim says the banks. Kim says the banks. Kim is watching us on YouTube. Kim, is this making sense to you? The banks are borrowing money big time, and then they lend that money out. They're making a huge amount of money, and then they they're required to do something in return for that money. They pay us for the use of that money. Have you seen your bank statement lately for the amount of money you're making for keeping your money in the bank, from letting the bank borrow your money and then lend it out? Do you see the pennies that you're getting paid each month? That is the cost of borrowing money. Not to mention that you may have fees associated with your bank. That's adding insult to injury. So they're borrowing our money and then turn around and charge us. Lord have mercy. I can't hardly get it out. They charge us money to borrow our money so they can make money. Mr. Ramsey, if borrowing money was so bad, then why are banks getting rich by borrowing? Ladies and gentlemen, it's called leverage. It's called leveraging. We need to get rid of that negative connotation and learn how to leverage money. So if you learn how to leverage it, meaning I borrow the bank's money, I'm leveraging it. Now I'm going to buy my $400,000 house with that money. And then because I know how to read an amortization schedule, I'm going to pay them at least two-thirds less, 75% less than the interest they were looking for, because now I know how to read an amortization schedule. I now have a AI powered cloud-based computing system that does all of the math, that tells me how much money to move, what month to move it in, what day of the month to move it on, and which loan to attack, so that I can literally save the maximum amount of interest that's mathematically possible. Because now what I want to do is be like a bank. I want to borrow their money. I then want to get a big old benefit from borrowing the money, like my house or my car or my education. And then I want to pay them pennies, excuse me, pennies on the dollar for using their money. I literally can get to the point where I can pay so little interest for my house that if I got that, if I would need an interest rate from the bank of 0.072%. I mean 0.72%. 0.72%, 0.98%, 0.52%. Listen, folks, I'm talking about having an effective interest rate of less than 1%. So if you can borrow money, Mr. Ramsey, if you could teach your people how to borrow money at less than 1%, wouldn't that be better than putting people under stress, and saying, listen, if you're paying that kind of money on a 15-year mortgage, okay, that means that's taking a bigger chunk out of your income. If you're trying to keep your amount of money that's going to pay for housing to 25 to 30%, you're going to have to buy less house than you probably need if you want to keep it within that threshold. Why not get a payment that keeps you within that threshold? You can get the house that you want and then pay it off in 7 years. Dave Ramsey, have you really done the math on this? Listen, folks, cash is not king. Cash isn't king. A wise use of somebody else's money is king. We need to be taught how to use other people's money. Okay, I'm going to put something on the screen here that you all need to see. All right, I got this example. I'll say this example number one. Let me get some examples here and I'll pull it over. Okay, that's example number one. Let me see here. Here's another example. Here's another example. Here's another example. All right, that's 4 examples. Okay, let me do this one too. This one's a whopping 18%. So I got 5 examples here. All right, and I'm going to show you what I mean by. Okay, we're going to put this over here. Okay, here is a $200,000 mortgage. Okay, and this one is at 18%. Okay, now who would get an 18% mortgage? a real estate investor, because interest rates don't matter. It's the amount of interest that you pay. This is on a multifamily dwelling. They put $200,000 worth of debt on a multifamily dwelling. Okay. And the rents come in, let's see, at $6,000 a month. The rent's coming in at $6,000 a month on this. So the mortgage payment, even at 18%, is $3,014 a month. Are you seeing do you see what I mean here? Interest rates don't matter. Okay. You can borrow that money. All right. Borrow the money, even at 18%. But if you have the income to support it, there you are. Okay. I've got $3,000 coming in. All right. And out of that money, I'm taking care of the taxes and insurance. Out of the $2,500, and the rest of that money I'm going to invest. Okay. But out of this money, $485.82, that's 8.1% of the money's coming in, goes into a reserve fund so that we could do repairs and maintenance on these buildings. Okay. $485.82 comes out, puts that away in a savings account, making 0.01%. Okay. Way less than 1%, 1/10 of 1%, 1/10 of 1%, putting that money away. And look at the profit here. We're making some serious money here. Okay. So even at 18%, let me show you what happens. Here's how much interest the bank wants at 18%, $884,974. That's a lot of money. But if you can, if you know how to read an amortization schedule and you had some help along the way, like from the P.I.L.L method, you would end up paying $253,734 in interest instead. Ladies and gentlemen, that's 71% less, 71% less than the banks want, by knowing what to do and when. So if you're going to pay $253,734 in interest, what interest rate would you have to be able to do that? That's called the effective interest rate. So we're going to take that interest rate and treat it like 6.47. That's less than the interest rate today, which is at 7%. It's actually a little more than 7%. How do we take 18% interest and treat it as if it were 6.47% interest, because we control how much interest we're actually paying, Mr. Ramsey, by understanding how a loan actually works. Okay? So if this person was to follow this, they could be out of debt in 10.8 years. But if this $200,000 loan at 18% would not work in making money, because watch this. Lord have mercy. There we go. All right. $200,000 at 18%. Okay. So Dave Ramsey says, if you can't afford this on a 15-year mortgage, then you can't afford the house. And that is categorically not true. Okay? Because here's a real estate investor says, well, because I'm following Dave Ramsey, I have to get a 15-year mortgage. I got to get a 15-year mortgage with this deal. Okay? Now my payment, okay, versus let me see here, it's $3,220. My mortgage payment Here is $3,014. $3,014 as opposed to let me bring that back. There it is. $200,000, 18% interest rate. Okay. 32. Is that right? No, that's not right. That's not right at all. 180 payments. Let me get that out of there. Okay. 200,000. Calculate. Yeah. What's going on here? 18% interest. All right. There we are. Versus, let me do this. We're going to duplicate this tab and we're going to put them side by side. Okay. 360 payments at 18%. Okay. $3,014. Okay. I need to, again, here's an example. Here's an example where the first interest payment on this loan is $3,000. The first interest payment on this one at on a 15-year mortgage is $3,000. I need you to take a look at my principal payment here. It's $220.84. That's on the 15-year mortgage. $220.84, but my interest payment is $3,000. I need you to take a look at this, though. Let me get rid of this advertising. I need you to take a look at this. On a 30-year mortgage, look at the principal payment, $14. $14. Do you know how much money I have to come up with to eliminate one mortgage payment that I never have to make on this loan? An extra $14.38, and I wipe out nearly $3,000 worth of interest. $184.79. This is why I never get a 15-year mortgage, even at the higher interest rates. On a 30-year mortgage, $184 prepaid knocks off 1 year and saves 35 grand in interest. On a 15-year mortgage, I need $2,880 to knock off 1 year. I just wish we had more people that could see this and understand that the key to handling your debt is better financial education. And it's not, we don't have that. We don't have that in the US. So listen, folks, I just need you to share this with people so that they can see it, so they can understand it, that cash is not king. You want to be able to leverage your debt to the maximum, meaning what is the smallest amount of money I can pay to get the biggest benefit? Because banks have been doing that all along. They pay us pennies on the dollar for our money, but they get that back because of the fees that we pay to bank with them. They're literally paying us nothing, and they're charging us to use our money to make money. Folks, we can do something similar if we knew how to read this thing and stop looking at where the experts are telling us to look. Okay? So listen, we're going to take a quick break here. We're going to hear from Dr. Eric Thomas while I get a drink of water so that we can go ahead and look at some more examples of why it is necessary to understand this from a basic level. We need a new financial education and stop listening to gurus who are not actually doing the math. Let's roll it.
Listen to me, y'all. But one of his mentees took us through one of their programs, and I paid off my mortgage. But guess what happened? My marriage went to a whole nother level. And you know why? Because my wife is a security freak. And even when I blew up, my wife would be like, oh, you blew up, but how long is you gonna keep making this kind of money? I was like, I don't know, forever. She's like, you sure? Because I'm gonna keep my license as a nurse just in case you don't. So when I paid the house off, my boy was like, you ain't gotta do that, you can do this. But when I paid the house off using that program, it took the stress level all the way down for my wife because we no longer had a mortgage. Does that make sense? That thing that was coming every month, that was getting on her nerves, we didn't have that no more. And so she was at rest.
All right, folks, if you want to know more about what we're talking about, go to ice10k.com, ice10k.com. All right. And that'll bring you here. And you scroll down under ET. Okay. Eric Thomas, #1 motivational speaker in the world right now. Scroll down underneath his picture. Okay. And then you'll see get a savings and earnings report. If you want to learn how to do the math on this, you don't just get our technology. You get coaching and you get the new education that I'm talking about so that you can teach your children. You can teach your children, your grandchildren, your nieces and nephews. We can teach the younger generations this information so they don't grow up listening to the Dave Ramseys and the Susie Ormans of the world, giving them bad financial information. You can get a savings report now and say, listen, I want to be able to pay off my 30-year mortgage. Do you know people right now are going out based on this information, taking their very good, perfectly good 30-year mortgages and refinancing them to a 15-year mortgage, listening to this information, which is totally irrational when you look at the math. So get a savings and earnings report and find out how you can pay off your 30-year mortgages, your student loans, your credit cards, your car loans, everything, because now we can save on the interest, cut it by 2/3 and pay everything off, not just the mortgage, but everything in about 7 to 9 years, because we understand what's going on now. We're getting the education we need, plus we have the technology we need. Using AI, artificial intelligence, to do the math so that when you make your payment in the right amounts, in the right month, on the right day of the month, applying it to the right loan, you maximize the amount of interest you can literally save. Yes, it matters. And when you make that payment, I need you to hear me. I need you to hear me. It is the least amount you can pay at that time, not the most. See, everything with the amortization schedule is backwards. When you really do the math, we're going to help you to find the least amount of your money that you can place on principal on any one of your loans to save the maximum amount of interest per dollar. Yeah, we're going to break that down per dollar, so you're saving more interest per dollar. If you can get to the point where, let's say you can say the maximum amount of interest you could save is like $6 for every dollar you put on principal. Well, you certainly wouldn't want to save $4 in interest for every dollar when you could save $6. But if you don't have a way to measure, if you haven't been taught how to read an amortization schedule, if you don't know that there's technology out there that can help you to use your current budget to do what you want it to do, through your current budget, to save more interest by making specific and strategic moves with your money. See, that's the whole idea of interest cancellation. How do I use my current budget to save more interest so that I can get out of debt more efficiently and faster? Everything we've been told says we have to come up with more money. And that is the theme behind getting a 15-year mortgage as opposed to a 30-year mortgage, because I have to come up with more money to make the payment. And I'm being told that more is actually better. No, more is not better. What's better is the exact amount of money I need to pay that's going to get me what I need, the highest interest savings. That's the right amount of money, not just more, but the right amount. And that would mean I never, ever get a 15-year mortgage. I always want to get a 30. And folks, you know what I wish would happen? You know what I wish would happen? I wish, I'm getting away from, listen, you all know how to get a hold of us. Go to ice10k.com and get a free savings and earnings report. Do that. Okay. I would love to have you guys on our team. But first, I want to talk about the fact that if 40-year mortgages became common in the US, do you know I would be promoting 40-year mortgages instead? Yeah. Get a 30 or a 40. 40 years? Yes. Do you know a 40-year mortgage is even easier to pay off in 7 years? Can I just show you? Can I just show you what I mean? Okay. So I got a $400,000 mortgage, $420,000 mortgage. And we're going to duplicate this one twice. Okay. 430,000. That's at, this one is at 180 months. That's 15 years. This one we're going to put at 360 months, which is 30 years. This one we're going to put at 420 months. Okay. 480 months rather. 480 months. Okay. That's 480 months. Same loan, 480 months. And you can see it's 40 years right there. It says 40 years. Can I show you the first interest payment on all three loans? I'm going to show you the first interest payment on all three loans. Okay. Here is the first interest payment on the 15-year loan. It is $2,450. Here is the first interest payment on the 30-year loan. $2,450. Here's the first interest payment on the 40-year loan. $2,450. If it's 7%, the first interest payment is going to be $2,450. In the first year, the interest amount is about the same. On the 40-year loan, the interest payment is $29,000, $29,003. On the 30-year, this is the 40. On the 30-year, it's $29,002. On the 15-year mortgage, it's $28,008. So, if I could get a 40-year mortgage, look at my tiny principal payment. The difference in the mortgages is not is not so much the amount of the first few interest payments. The big difference is the principal payment. The principal payment is smaller on the longer mortgages. And because it's smaller, look what I could do. I could prepay $1,982.93 and knock off 1 year on this loan and save $29,000. Okay. This is why this is when we go back to the examples, this is why this works, because the principal payments remain small and I can attack the loan more aggressively and save more interest and get out of debt faster, I can knock off one whole year with $1,900. Boom. It is a lot easier to pay this loan off in 7 years because of this. All right. And I save that much interest. And on a 30-year loan, I have to come up with $4,266 to knock off 1 year off the loan. On a 15-year mortgage, I have to come up with $16,000 to save virtually the same amount of interest in the first year. I don't know if anybody has ever showed you this or taught you this, but most people don't know this to be true, but you've seen it here today. We've shown you the math. Because of this, let me go ahead and pull this back up and give you some more examples. Here's another example. This one is 75,000, a total of 98,000, a small mortgage of $78,000, of 75,009, $21,000 in loans, and just one credit card. Total of $98,000. Instead of the $40,000 the bank wants in interest on all these loans, this particular client is going to pay $16,892. Instead, they would have to have an interest rate of 1.08%. That's what I'm talking about. That's where we need to focus. Here's the math that we need to focus on, Mr. Ramsey. How to leverage the money that we have to pay less interest. I don't need more money. I need to pay less interest. If I get a 15-year mortgage, I need more money to buy the same size house. I need more money to make those payments. I can have the same size house, and buy the same house, have a 30-year mortgage, have a smaller payment, and attack it aggressively with principal payments. Again, you don't need permission to have a 15-year mortgage. You can get a 30-year mortgage and pay whatever you want. And here's the other thing about that. When life happens to you and things get a little tight, there could be a reversal of fortune. I could lose my job. My spouse could lose her job, or whatever happens. And temporarily, we have less money coming in. I'm stuck with that 15-year mortgage payment. But if I have a 30-year mortgage and I was used to paying more all the time and things get tight, I could easily drop back to the 30-year payment without having to refinance or any of that. I have not put myself in a financial pickle by strapping myself to a huge mortgage payment because Dave Ramsey says I should have a 15-year mortgage, and he hasn't really shown you the math as to why that is necessary. He says he's done the math, and because he is who he is, because of the platform that he has, you assume that he's done it, and he's giving you good information. This is the good information, okay? So the interest rate of 1.08%. Here's another one. $630,000 for the mortgage, $38,000 in loans, $20,000 in credit cards for this particular client, $688,000 in total. The bank wants $320,000 in interest. This client is only going to pay $80,000 in interest. That would mean they would have to have an interest rate of 0.75%. And these are all 30-year loans, ladies and gentlemen. 30-year mortgages being paid off in about 7 years. All this debt paid off in about 7 years, saving $240,000. That means that's a 75% interest savings. The key to managing your debt is paying less interest, not coming up with more money. Using your current budget. If your current budget manages a 30-year loan, don't get a 15 ever. Now you're putting extra strain on the budget getting a 15-year mortgage. Get a 30 and then manage it and pay it off in 7. Here's another one. $390,000 mortgage, 7 I'm sorry, 7,000 in loans, 18,000 in credit cards. Okay. Oh, by the way, these people aren't cutting up their credit cards. They're just paying them off. We're teaching people how to use credit cards. We're teaching people how to leverage their money. We're teaching people how to use credit cards to benefit you. Make your credit cards pay you. Don't cut up your credit cards. Use your credit cards to your advantage. Leverage somebody else's money and think like a bank. Think like a bank. And when you do that, here we got 163,000 that the bank wants. They're going to get 41,638 instead, which means they would have to have an interest rate of 0.64% across the board. 0.64%, less than 1%. If you're borrowing money at less than 1%, why would you ever get a 15-year mortgage and jeopardize that? Why? That's a 75% savings. That's saving $122,000 and paying off everything in 7.6 years. Boom. That's what I'm talking about. With the right type of education, going to ice10k.com, getting your savings report, that is the start of getting your education. Watch these videos and contact us. And not only will you get the technology, the AI powered opportunity cost calculator. It is the only financial AI system in the world right now that is designed to optimize interest savings. AI, artificial intelligence, optimizing interest savings, doing the real math behind the scenes, not the fake math that Mr. Ramsey is talking about. Real math stating, if you do this, out of everything you can do, this is the best thing you can do to save the most amount of money. Anything else you do, you're going to save less. That's what optimization means. And it takes a ton of math to do that. I can't even do it. Okay. Our algorithm does that. The AI does that. It guides you to financial freedom in about 7 years. Okay. So, oh man, I think here's the last one. Here's a commercial client that we have, over $2 million worth of debt. $2,236,000. Okay. The bank wants $1,123,000 in interest on this. $1,123,000 in interest. When in fact, they're only going to pay $231,000. That would mean an interest rate, they would have to have an interest rate of 0.67%. They're saving $891,000 in interest. That's a 75% reduction in interest, and it doesn't jeopardize their budget or their ability to continue to invest. We teach all of our clients how to give the bank back their money and make it impossible for them to charge you interest. When you pay at a specific time, in a specific month, on a specific day, any money we tell you to pay on that day, you are not charged interest on at all. $0 interest. We're going to teach you when and how to pay the bank back their money and make it impossible for them to charge you interest, because we've done the real math, Mr. Ramsey, not the fake math. Okay, not the magical math. Okay. This is not magic. This is math. And when you do the real math, these are the kinds of results you can get. So I'm praying that you will get this information out to people so that they can actually see it. Let me bring this back, because we're going to be back tomorrow. We're going to be back on Sunday. And we're going to be telling you the truth on Sunday about investing. The truth about invest. Listen, you think this was the truth. Wait till you get the truth about investing and taking the interest saved that you have, okay? The interest that you can save and then invest that as well. Oh my goodness. Can we put that up? Can we put that up? Sunday show. And we have a special guest coming in as well. We have a special guest coming in that's going to talk with us, and they've got years of experience in investing, so that we can do what we need to do to help people do to invest more efficiently, to make more money. And we can talk people who have W-2 jobs, people who have W-2 income, regular jobs, can save so much interest, they can invest it properly, and they can become millionaires on W-2 salaries, because we're cutting interest costs by so much. Okay? So on Sunday, you want to be here. All right? It's already up on our YouTube channel. Okay? And all right, and I'm going to let me show you what this is. Okay, here it is. Boom, right there. Investing too risky? All right, and we have somebody coming in that's going to teach us about this on Sunday. So be back here on Sunday and learn how to invest properly. Okay, can I count on you for that? Can we go ahead and start sharing this out with people so that they can learn the real information that's going on? Get your savings and earnings report. Also, become an affiliate. Okay, scroll down here, click on where it says become an affiliate, go to ice10k.com and become an affiliate. When you become an affiliate, then you can literally help us and help yourself. Okay. We just had one lady who has already made $900 sharing the YouTube channel with individuals, and those individuals became clients. She's made $900. Can you imagine that? $900. Okay. Just by sharing the YouTube channel, and they became clients. We're going to show you what that means. Put your full name in here, your phone number, your email, and tell us how you want to get paid. Okay. She chose Cash App. So that's how she gets paid. Cash App. We send that money out. And we thank you for sharing the information for us. So not only that, but we need you also to get the book. All right. Can we put the book up? All right. So I need you to get my book. And to get the book, ladies and gentlemen, this could be a start of somebody's financial education as well. Our book is not a 1, 2, 3 ABC. It is not a step-by-step program on how to get out of debt. The book is designed to give you a new mindset and tell you the truth about debt, about what's actually happening, so that you can start teaching it to other people and letting them know that if they're tired, if you all are tired of how debt is happening to you, okay? If you're tired of the financial violence that's being inflicted upon you, your family, and your friends, then learn about the right way to handle all of this. Okay? Start watching our channel. Start teaching other people. Get a savings and earnings report. It's free. Just follow the directions, and you guys are going to be okay. I want to thank everybody for coming here today. and letting me get this off my chest. I feel like I've been unburdened today because when I saw that article, I saw this article. All right, here it is. Dave Ramsey says, if you can't afford a 15-year mortgage, you can't afford the house. All right, let's share the screen. You can't afford a house. All right. And people disagree with that. They're disagreeing with this all the time. But nobody can hear it. Maybe they just don't have the platform. Maybe they don't have the math skills to challenge this. Maybe they don't understand an amortization schedule, but we understand it here. We understand it here at the P.I.L.L method. And we not only want you to know it, we want everybody you're associated with to know it as well. If, and only if, they've realized that they want something better. They want something different. Okay? So I have a video that I want to play for you on the way out that talks about something different. Okay? And I also want you to remember, come back on Sunday at 8:30 a.m. Eastern time. I'm sorry, Central time, 9:30 a.m. Eastern time. And let's learn about, is investing really too risky? Is it really too risky to invest? Or should we learn how to do it the right way? Just like we're learning how to do our loans the right way, and stop listening to information from so-called gurus that sounds credible, that sounds logical, but it is totally irrational. All right. So listen, folks. Happy Sabbath to everyone who that applies. Have a good rest of your day. Here is my video as we're going out. I want to see you again here on Sunday. Goodbye, everybody. Have a great day. How many want to know how to pay off all of your debt in an average of 7 to 9 years? You can do all of this without refinancing, without change to your budget, without sacrificing lifestyle.
Me and my husband do the P.I.L.L method, and last year we were able to pay down $33,000 on our mortgage without feeling like we were poor. We still did tons of entertaining things and enjoyed our family.
You don't have to eat beans and rice every day. You don't have to cut up your credit cards. You don't have to drive a 30-year-old car. You don't have to sell pizzas at night to pay off your mortgage. All you need to do is pay the bank less interest. That's what we're talking about today. Here is what P.I.L.L method stands for: prepayment of principal, isolation of principal amounts, leverage, and liquidity. You understand it? You have a way of getting out of debt more efficiently. The interest rate you're quoted is not the interest rate you pay. You think you're buying a $500,000 home. The true cost of that home is what? $758,000. Total interest paid as a percentage of principal, 51.777%. That's what's going on with this loan. The ability to read and defeat an amortization schedule is not taught at any level of financial education. I need you to understand the power of a penny. You will not hear what I'm talking about from Dave Ramsey. Do you know why? Because I own the copyright. I literally wrote the book.
But Don has some valuable information that can contribute to the quality of a person's life. And it only costs you a few dollars. It's his book. Why not get that?
I'm going to go through the P.I.L.L method myself with some of my investment properties. So I'm going to link up with Don, and then I'm going to sit down with him, show him my investment portfolio, and see how I can eliminate interest.